Hello everyone, Rin here, and welcome to another video. Now, this video I'm going to be showing you how to install Docker and use the Docker engine and the Docker command line interface alongside a helper such as Portainer to use Docker on Windows without having to use Docker desktop, which in my opinion is a very limiting factor to my activities as a software developer. I really don't like using Docker desktop. For me, it's very slow, it's very buggy. It's just a complete pain to use it. And so I'm gonna make this video just as a condensed amount of information for people like me to be able to follow simple instructions to make this work, because I had to go through various sources, various forums and documentations in order to be able to make this work reliably. So I wanted to make this video to make it simple for everyone else. So let's get going. I think I should explain how this is going to work. You can't, at least not to my knowledge, install the Docker engine and the Docker-CLI on Windows without Docker Desktop. I think you can do that only with the container service version of Docker, which only allows you to run Windows containers. And obviously we don't want that. We want to run Linux containers. So what we're going to do is we're going to use WSL. We're going to install a WSL distribution, install Docker on it, and go from there. So of course, the first thing you want to make sure is that you have WSL installed and working. In order to do that, you can pull up your start menu and look for turn Windows features on or off. Inside of here, you want to make sure you have Hyper-V, Virtual Machine Platform, Windows Hypervisor Platform, and Windows Subsystem for Linux ticked. You're going to hit OK, and you're going to go through the process to having WSL installed on your system. Once it finishes, you're going to reboot your computer, and WSL should be working. You can test it by running WSL version, and this should come up if everything is running as it should. So now that you have WSL up and running, what you're going to do now is you're going to create a WSL config file. The WSL config file is a file called .wslconfig, and it is located in your user folder. So if you have PowerShell installed, you can easily navigate to your user folder by typing cd, this little guy, which I completely forgot the name of. Once you're in your user folder, you can create the file by typing new item .wslconfig. Once the file is created, you can open it with a text editor. I'm going to use Nano because I'm already here at the command line. And in here, you're going to add two lines. You're going to add general, like so. And you're going to add the line instance idle timeout, with idle and timeout being capitalized, and equals -1. What this is going to do for you is that it's going to keep your WSL VMs running indefinitely. Because when I was trying to do this originally, I ran into a problem where everything worked, but after 8 seconds, the virtual machine would shut down and Docker would not be available for me anymore, and it would take a long time for it to become available again because the virtual machine had to basically boot up again, and that was very annoying because services like Portainer, which require Docker to be running 24/7, would simply not work. So once you add this, WSL is not going to shut down its virtual machines. It's going to keep Docker running indefinitely for you to use whenever you want, and it's going to be very snappy, very fast. And if you're concerned about resource usage, I didn't see any CPU usage out of having WSL configured like this. I saw like 0.5% CPU usage in some spikes. The biggest concern, I guess, would be memory. I saw it using 1.5 gigabytes. I have 32 gigs of memory, and I don't think that's a problem for me. But if it's a problem for you, you should reconsider having this option enabled. Now, once you have this option, you can install a WSL distribution. We're going to be using Ubuntu, so type in wsl-install Ubuntu. This should download and install the latest Ubuntu image, which I believe is Ubuntu 24.04. Now I will come back once this has finished downloading and installing. Okay, if everything has going according to plan, you should now be seeing this. It's asking you to create a Unix user account for your new WSL distribution. It's using my default username, which is Rin. That's correct. It's going to ask for a password and a password confirmation. And it's going to throw me directly in the bash for the Ubuntu virtual machine. Now we're going to do some quick settings here. The first thing that I like to do is immediately exit the Ubuntu virtual machine, because I want to move its storage location. Because if you look here on my computer, I have 3 disks. I have my system disk and a data disk. These are both NVMe drives. Now, because I run a lot of Docker containers, I want my storage to be in my main storage drive instead of my system drive, because it is only 222 gigs. And my data drive is also faster, so that helps a lot too. So I'm going to teach you how to move the location of a WSL VM, because by default it's going to be in your C drive. So I want to move it to this folder right here, which is data VMs WSL. So I'm going to cd into that. And oops, I'm going to create a folder called Ubuntu. Cd into that. And what you are going to do now is you're going to shut down WSL so that the virtual disk for your VMs is free to use. So you're going to type in wsl-shutdown. Once that's finished, you're going to export your VM. So I'm going to do wsl-export Ubuntu, and then the file name for the virtual disk, I called it ext4.vhdx, and then the flag --vhd for it to create a VHD disk. You can see the disk has showed up here. What you're going to do now is you're going to delete your original VM, so wsl-unregister Ubuntu. This will delete the VM, and you're going to do wsl-import in place Ubuntu and then the virtual disk. And what we just did is we installed the VM, we exported the disk, we deleted the VM, and then we imported the original disk as the new VM. So we basically moved the location of the disk. Now, if you use the Windows terminal, if I reboot the Windows terminal real quick, you will see a problem where you don't have an icon for the WSL instance, and that is because the path is incorrect. You can see here that the icon path has this weird header. So to fix it, you just delete it, click save, and it should be back working just fine. And once you click it, it's going to start the Ubuntu VM back up using your new storage location. Now that that's out of the way, we're going to do some WSL configuration on the Ubuntu side as well. So I'm going to do sudo nano etc wsl.conf, And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a section called auto mount, enable true, root equals /. And what this is going to do is it's going to mount my distributions file system on my Windows Explorer so that I can easily access files for Docker, for example. It's also very helpful in general to have this option enabled. What we are going to do now is install Docker in our Ubuntu virtual machine. So I'm going to go through the classic process of sudo apt update and then sudo apt upgrade -y just to make sure all of my packages are updated to the latest version. And once that is done, I am now going to install Docker. And to do that, I'm going to install the packages apt transport https ca certificates curl gnu pg and lsb release. All of these commands are going to be in the description of the video if you want to just copy and paste them. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. So you're going to take the list of Docker commands from the description and paste it. This is going to add the Docker repository. So now I can run sudo apt update to fetch it. And it's giving me a key error. Just 1 second. I forgot a very important step, which is to add the Docker GPG key. And now it should work. There it goes. And now we can install the Docker packages. I have the command ready for that right here. This should install Docker for us, and it should create the Docker user group. So what you're going to do now is you're going to add your user to the Docker group by typing sudo user mod -a capital G docker $user. This is going to add your user to the Docker group so you can run Docker commands without having to type super. Now, since Docker is a new group and we need a shell restart, I'm going to type in new group Docker so it takes in effect now. And now you just have to enable the Docker systemd service by typing sudo systemctl enable --now docker. This is going to make sure Docker boots up alongside your virtual machine and that it boots up right now. So if I type in sudo systemctl status docker, it should be all green and working just fine. You can do a quick test by typing docker ps. As you can see, I have access to the Docker commands. Now you can go out of your Ubuntu virtual machine and into a PowerShell session. So I can exit this guy. And what you want to do now is you want to create an alias for your Docker commands. And the reason I say that is because if you want to use Docker, you're going to have to type in wsl docker. And as you can see, this works. But it's very annoying to keep typing wsl before typing Docker. So what you can do is you can create a function that is going to serve as an alias for wsl docker. And the way to do that is by using your PowerShell profile. If you don't have a PowerShell profile, you can create one by typing new item type file -path $profile -force. This is going to create a file in your documents folder inside a PowerShell folder called microsoft.powershell_profile.ps1. And this is basically a PowerShell script that is executed every time you create a PowerShell session. So every time you open PowerShell, this script will be executed. And I already have a profile, so if I edit my profile with Nano, you can see I have a bunch of FZF configuration and Python pip functions. And right down here, I already have a few Docker compose and Docker logs aliases functions. And what you want to do here is you want to create function docker, and in here you can simply type wsl docker $args. What this is going to do is it's going to make sure that every time you call docker, PowerShell is internally going to call wsl docker, as if Docker was installed on Windows instead of a WSL virtual machine. So if I reload my PowerShell profile by typing .profile, you can see here that when I simply type docker ps, it's going to execute just fine as if I had Docker installed on Windows. So now that is pretty much it. You should be good to go now. If all you wanted was just to have the Docker-CLI working on Windows without the Docker desktop, you can now click off the video. But if you want to install a helper like Portainer, stick around because I'm going to show you how to do just that. So the first thing you want to do is create a volume for Portainer. So I'm going to do docker volume create Portainer data. This should create the volume. And now I'm going to run a command that is too long for me to type right now in the video. And this is basically going to download the Portainer Community Edition image, the latest version of the image, and start a container for me on port 9443. So now if I run docker ps, you can see that we have Portainer running just fine on port 9443. So if I run my web browser right now, I can simply type localhost 9443. It's going to give me a few security warnings, and I should have Docker Portainer running just fine. Right here you can create your account, so I'm going to create ren and a simple password. And as you can see, everything is running just fine. I'm going to click get started, and as you can see, it picked up the local Docker socket that is running in our Ubuntu virtual machine just fine. And that is pretty much it, folks. That is all you need to do to use Docker-CLI, Docker Engine, and Portainer without having to install, frankly, the absolute garbage that is Docker Desktop. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if my English is not really good. I'm Brazilian. I speak Portuguese. This is my secondary language. If you liked what you saw, please like it. Dislike if you didn't. And if you dislike it, please post a comment on giving your opinion on why you disliked it, because I just want to improve and help people. That is what I'm here for. And yeah, basically that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you on the next one.